Hey guys, welcome to the Fusion Motor Company channel, and today we have something more unique, a little different than we do usually with the muscle cars. I got Larry over here that is a Master Tech Porsche guy, 20 years experience, and we got a cool project here, right, Larry? We got this little Carrera GT.
Carrera GT.
Before we dive into it, we'll do a shout out to Angie. This is Angie's car that always gives us the coolest cars and let us videotape them and have fun with them. But Angie, I mean, Larry, you know this car better than me. She bought the car. She brought it to you for inspection.
Yeah, so we did an initial inspection, looked the car over. The car was really nice, but there were some things I saw in the engine compartment weren't quite right. We went ahead and decided to do the major service again, which is engine out on this car. So we went ahead, did an engine out service, did the valve clearance checks, inspected the clutch, went through everything we do there. And when I went through, I just all the little fasteners aren't quite right, all the clips aren't in the right place, had the wrong hose clamps in certain places. I kind of OCD about making it just right. This car's so special to make it just perfect. At that point, we did a couple things. We'll show in the back the hydraulic rams.
Going back a little bit though. If you guys are not familiar with this car, look it up. It's a Carrera GT. This car's way north of $1 million. These cars were built 04, 05, and I think a few in 06.
There's a few 06s out there.
But most of them are 04, 05. Full carbon fiber tub, so that's what we love to show this car this way because we had to take it apart. I mean, Larry, tell them what you're doing now, though. You're doing more updates now.
So the shocks that come with the car were good at the time. They're 20-year-old technology. The biggest problem with this car in terms of usability on a day-to-day is the front clearance is crazy low. Almost, you scrape everywhere. You'll high center it on speed bumps. So KW makes an awesome kit that's four-wheel lift, lifts all four corners, and it's the latest shock technology, fully adjustable. So we're installing it. There's a hydraulic ram, and it hydraulically lifts all four corners. So we replace all four struts, and then a car like this, we got a corner balance, set ride height, and all that final alignment. So, and then a lot of final settings. There's quite a lot of work involved.
Yeah, of course. And then one key thing that we didn't speak about, besides having a lift, that obviously we're here in LA, it's needed, right, with our roads. Yeah. But let's talk about adjustability. I mean, look at this KWs. You got a low speed
and high
speed rebound and compression.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit. Most people don't understand the four-way adjustability on the low speed compared to the high speed.
So the four-wheel adjustability is really, in every instance, depending on the type of roads you're on, you can really dial the suspension in to really, so the car either is comfortable or is going to maximum grip, or just every situation is really going to look for the best ideal setup for springs. And what you get from the factory is basically a compromise. It's a compromise for general usability. This allows the client to really tailor for how they're going to use the car and where they're driving the car.
Absolutely. And then what I love about the low speed adjustability is that me personally, I get everything stiffer in the high speed. Okay. But on the low speed, myself, when I set them up a little softer because our roads here are so rough sometimes. So I like to have a little bit, when I'm in low speed, parking lot speeds, a little more suspension, a little more travel. And then once I get a little bit into speed, then we go to a little stiffer. That's the way I set them up. I don't know how you usually set them up.
You know that when you drive, largely Los Angeles is so big. If you live in this area, the roads are very different than if you live out, out in different areas. If you live outside the city, I actually live out in Thousand Oaks near Malibu. There, out there.
Better roads.
So it's a better road. There's better roads out there. So you deal a different setting if you're venturing into the city a lot, or you're never venturing into the city. So there's a lot of adjustability in terms of where you're normally driving and where you want the car to be ideal setup. And I'm sure this client will eventually make it to the track at some point.
Of course.
And that's going to want totally different settings.
Exactly.
So it gives her the ability to set the car up exactly the way she wants.
Absolutely. So so that's super exciting. And then I know we're in talks now to maybe do some brake upgrades as well.
Yeah, so
talk about that a little bit.
Well, this car had the first generation SGL carbon ceramic brakes from Porsche. Those were good at the time. Sometimes you have abnormal wear issues. The track kind of kills these things, everyone knows, and they kind of got a bad reputation for a lot of owners. A lot of clients who bought GT3s of ceramics take them off because of the cost of replacement. Mm-hmm. Technology's moved a long way now, and there are newer technologies. So we're kind of investigating, client has some brake concerns, and we're kind of investigating, can we bring the latest ceramic technology, rotors and pads, into this car, which it looks like we may have some availability along those lines.
That's going to be super cool. And when we talk about Angie, Angie can drive. So that's what you guys got to realize. Angie is going to use this car like it was intended to be used, and she's going to take it to the limit. So this is made where this brakes will be good for 90% of the people.
Exactly.
She's definitely in the top 10 that may need something a little more performance-driven.
She's got concern with brake feel on this car and some pulsation along those lines. Most of my clients, it kind of feels like a lot of what the others feel like, but most of my clients, they barely drive them. There's kind of definitely a sharp divide between clients that go out and drive these cars and clients that kind of just collect them, and there's very different. Angie's a driver.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we'll do some B-roll around the car just to show the tub, but some cool stuff like air ducting to the brakes. Yeah. Look how big the air duct is and how it's feeded in.
This car started out for Porsche as a full race car project. And what happened is most of the way into that project, they found out that the car was no longer competitive. And they were not going to win. Porsche does not enter races they don't win.
Yeah.
So they were not. So now they had a mostly formed platform, engine, drivetrain with nothing to do with it. They decided to turn it into a road car. And it really is a road car unlike any others. It's a supercar with a manual transmission, which is kind of unheard of.
Yeah, unbelievable.
The car, V10, screams to like 9,000 RPM, which back in 2004 was unheard of.
Even today, 9,000 RPM is very respectful on a V10.
Very respectful.
I mean, I heard that this motor initially was developed maybe to enter back into Formula One.
So this whole setup was a full race project. The motor, the car, drivetrain, everything was a full race program. And then they realized that they really didn't have a way to be fully competitive with it. And they had done so much development time.
Yeah, I was thinking that at the time, Formula One was still in the V10, and then while they were developing this, they went to V8s, and I think that kind of killed the program. But I'm not sure which one is accurate, but I'm going to tell you one thing, and you guys maybe on the comments want to argue, but this may be the best sounding exhaust on a factory car ever made.
Yeah. This is up there. This is top 1 or 2. I mean, it's definitely everyone. You get behind one of these, you know you're behind one of these. And we have a lot of clients. Angie opened up the exhaust, of course. And you hear these cars coming blocks and blocks away, and there's nothing else. You know it's a Carrera GT coming.
I agree 100%. A couple other little things that we're doing for Angie. Obviously, these cars don't have the Bluetooth technology. Yeah. We're going to send out the factory radio.
So I did that. So we sent the radio, Becker, it has a very unique, you'll take some pictures, some very unique radio system. It's got a standard Becker, which you had in the 2000s. But because of the way the dash is, the display is super narrow, so it's a remote display that's like tiny. So it is a Traffic Pro Becker, but it has a remote display. Not a lot of options for aftermarket, but you did want Bluetooth. So you can send it out to Becker, and they will add Bluetooth as like an auxiliary in that radio. So she does have that Bluetooth. And we're kind of exploring, as technology changes, I'm kind of looking at other things we can do to try to get the infotainment into this car, but again, it's tricky with the dash layout.
Bluetooth is probably enough just to get some music. Here's another cool thing that Larry taught me, because I haven't seen a lot of these cars apart, and that's why we wanted to do a video. I saw this filter that looks like if you had a dirt bike back in the day, you think it's a fuel filter.
Yeah, exactly.
But Larry explained to me that there's actually an intake, and to get any fogginess or anything out of the headlights, they're using that and they're filtering it, and that actually goes into the headlights. So how cool is that? We got a GPS antenna. Larry, maybe we can grab the original shocks and put them next to the aftermarket just to kind of show the difference. But this is one of my favorite, and I know I say this a lot, this is one of my favorite cars ever made. I personally owned a black version of it that I regret ever selling. So,
and I think it mounts this way up in there.
So you guys can see you're going for no adjustability, just factory settings to a full adjustability, not much bigger. And remember, this is going to have a hydraulic line that goes ahead besides the remote reservoir that we would mount. And then it has a hydraulic line that will let this car lift. Larry, do you know how much lift you get from it?
I think it's 450 millimeters, so 4.5 centimeters.
Okay.
It's not a lot.
That's a lot, though, when you're trying to clear something.
The car has about, I believe I measured, it's like 8.5 centimeters ground clearance total in the whole.
Okay.
So
you're getting 50% more.
You're getting 50% more.
It's actually quite a bit.
Angie, I think, wants to drop it before. So I think the lift is just going to get her back to stock right.
Okay, yeah. Angie likes them lower.
Angie likes them
and we'll
low.
show some of her other cars. Her 599
She
manual
loves the
is
stuff.
super low.
She loves the stuff low.
Yeah,
so
really cool.
She knows what she's doing. But
maybe we can peel off, and you guys can see like how Larry works. Everything is super organized. He got the car mostly covered when he's working on it. Right here, this black bag right here, that's just a sandbag that Larry put in, just because this car is so balanced 50-50. When we put him on the lift, even so it's strapped down to the lift, any movement of weight, we just don't want this thing to flip backwards with the motor being in the center. So we're just trying to keep it balanced. And then, so here's some of the panels, all the belly panels that have been taking off the vehicle. And then maybe, Larry, if you want to help me, we'll take this cover off.
Yeah, let's pull the cover off.
Kind of show the car.
So I've got the front tub off, I've got the front rear bumper off, I've got all the fender liners out, all the underbody panels off. So there's quite a lot of work involved to install this.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. So here, if you come back here, you can see that that's the pump, correct? That's the hydraulic pump and reservoir.
So that's where the pump mounts behind the rear bumper in the corner over here.
And I like it. They offsetted the weight from the driver. Yeah. I don't mind that. Sits there. Obviously, you're not going to see it once all the covers are back in. We talked about the wing that comes up and down. Like
this has been a problem area with Carrera GT. It's been a problem. Everyone knows 996 have those issues with those hydraulic rams as well. And it's a very similar to a 996 turbo setup. The rams tend to fail. The pumps tend to fail. They leak. It's kind of a mess. Porsche is very proud of this system in terms of charges. There is a company we're kind of trying out that makes electronic linear rams. And the newer Porsches all use electronic linear rams on there. Porsche finally realized hydraulic was not the way to go.
Yep.
The reason they went with hydraulic is this actually creates significant downforce. And they made us in school, we'd actually take turns sitting on the wing because the wing will support tremendous amount of weight.
Well, it has to, right?
For all that downforce. Porsche builds functional things. That's what I love about Porsche.
Absolutely.
But these linear rams should be rated to what they need to be, and they actuate faster, and they're much more reliable. It's a much better setup.
I love that.
So we'll see the long term, but
so you can see this plate came with that kit.
So these plates. So we had to send these plates out to be machined to fit. So it's very minor machining.
Okay.
So this is part of the hydraulic system. So I actually shipped them the whole assembly. They did some we could do the machining as well, but it's easier. They know what they're doing. They got the jigs. So they went ahead and machined it and reinstalled it and sent it back assembled.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this is our first kit. So Larry, for a customer that has a problem with this, what would be the price difference between going factory on hydraulic repair compared to go to this linear? Like just roughly.
Roughly. The rams were about $12,000 each. The pump was another $12,000. You're talking $40,000, $50,000 in components from Porsche.
And what were we able to achieve with the electric?
I don't want to misquote it, but I thought it was maybe something around $8,000 for the whole everything.
So you guys
for less than one ram, you can get the full electric system. And this car needed a ram when it came in. It was been leaking for a long time. Looking through the history, one of those rams, it was clearly leaking, and it was just the time to continue to try to fix a system that you know you're going to have problems with down the road. It was easier just to put this electric in and try it out. And so far, it's been good. The other thing with the hydraulic ones is you really don't want to leave them up because there's constant pressure, and it's actually bad for the system to leave them up. That's where I think a lot of the problems lie.
So here you
but
go.
clients like to leave them up. So
it looks
they go to shows,
if you own a Carrera GT,
don't leave your ram
Don't leave it up because you can see the prices to repair it. Or we get the electrics, and then you can leave them up.
You can leave them up. You can leave
them
wherever you want.
It doesn't hurt it. So here's a question I never asked you that I just came up to mind. Why is one spring blue and one spring red, driver to passenger?
So Angie actually requested that.
Okay.
The difference is for motorsports, left and right are different colors, and they can that way the nuts. On the motorsports car, the nuts are like knockoff wheels where you turn them, in the direction of travel. So they're color coded so you don't mix them up quickly. So this is standard. If you go to any 996 Cup, 997 Cup, they're all color coded like this.
So Angie knew.
So Angie, it's this way. Yeah. Angie knew, and she wanted to kind of match that look.
I love that.
Yeah, so
okay, I didn't know that. So
that was an Angie
specific. I'm learning stuff. So you guys can see the rear, and this is all Formula One, full race car type of suspension, cantilever. Just really, really cool. Here's that V10, really down low. So they're not trying to make it look pretty. They're just trying to make it functional.
It's a full dry sump system. The bottom of the crank is basically this far off,
it's a flat
off
crank,
the floor.
Right?
Yeah, it's off the bottom of the tub. The transmission doubles as the oil tank. It's a pretty trick. The whole thing is trick. There's so much really advanced technology in this
Unbelievable.
car. It's pretty
wild. Let's lift it up real quick, just to look underneath real quick so people get a good view. Like I said, you don't see these cars apart a lot. So to be able to see what these cars are built and how well they're built is pretty impressive. So here's another cool thing that Larry taught me. I saw some writing here on the actual tub, the carbon fiber tub. And he told me that's all factory. So that's a good thing to look at when you're buying a car, to just get the numbers. It's a US spec car. So that's really cool. And talk about suspension. Here's again, that kind of lever, that lower control arm. Look at this
these
thing.
lower control arms are in the air path. So that's why they're aero.
Okay.
Aero. They're
very
in
cool.
this whole under tray arrow. You'll see it on that.
Yeah, look how cool this
thing is. But it's a full carbon tub, carbon car. They have these extrusions over here just for crash. Those are your crumple zones on this car. But you can see the bottom. This is the bottom of the crank's right here. So it's at the bottom.
That's another reason you may want to lift it a little bit. Just you don't want to hit that. So here's one thing I want to mention. You know, I know a lot of people will look at this video and say, well, why would you even touch a Carrera GT? Why would you do anything? Everything that we're doing on this car is very tastefully done and able to be reversed. We're not penetrating anything. We're not cutting anything. We're being very, very careful to keep this car. So if one day somebody wants to bring it back all to original, he can literally take all this and unbolt it. There may be one or two holes that are very minute. So don't hate on it. We were going to keep all the original parts, the original shocks and springs and everything. So we're not trying to lower the value of the car as a collectible. Angie can drive, and she wants something she can drive and use in the LA streets, and that's what we're achieving for her. So, Larry, help us here. Coolants, I'm guessing?
Coolants, yeah. So the car has 3 radiators. One big center one that lies flat, almost, lies flat in the center without fans. 2 small ones on the side, and then it's got to run the coolant from the back. Just standard, Porsche stuff. Mid-engine, run the cooling system front to back. Again, it's a complete carbon. This is the center carbon tub. Yeah. The mounting points back here. So we have to bolt these plates on. These are the lift points. They don't come with these mounting plates. Yeah. These are bolted on, and they have you lift here, and this is about the 50-50 point of the car. And the reason why it's set over here is to pull the motor out, you're pulling this cradle down, and this is also the split point. To get a gas tank, you're actually going to split the car at this point to get a gas tank out.
Now, these gas tanks are not bladders or anything, right?
No, so these are the steel tanks.
Steel, okay.
But there's a common failure point with the pumps, and it really has to do with them just sitting. When they sit, eventually that pump just sits.
Will fail if they're
If you run your car periodically, it's very rare to change a pump. If the car sits in the museum for about 5-10 years, pumps are probably shot.
Yeah, we have the same problems on the SLRs. They have like a saddle aluminum tanks with 2 pumps in them. Yeah. Super expensive, about $20,000 repair. Hard to get into.
Exactly. And, it's nice this doesn't have bladders because, as you know, bladders have a life expectancy.
10 years, I think.
Yeah, I think F40s. Ford is bladders all the time in F40s. Yes. These are nice. Again, Porsche builds, this car came with a 4-year, 50,000-mile warranty. Drive it every day. These are meant to be used.
Look at these lines. I mean, how beautiful the aluminum work. Just gorgeous. So again, guys, if you have any questions, Larry doesn't only do Carrera GTs. He's a master tech from the air-cooled Porsches to the new Porsches. If you guys have any questions, hit us up. If you need any support or any help, you guys know we do carbon repair. If you have something that happened to your belly pan or you need a replacement, hit us up because we do repairs on all carbon, so we'll be able to help you guys, okay? guys, so we're a few days later. You've seen this car apart, and Larry finished the car. He test drove it today for about 40 minutes or so.
A long drive on the car. Car drives awesome.
Yeah, you re-embedded the brake pads.
So we went through with the brakes, and what I'm thinking it's a bedding issue. So we went ahead through a full bedding procedure, and there's definitely an improvement in that brake feel.
Awesome. So you guys can see how the car sits now. We did do a wheel upgrade where we went from the 19s and 20s to 20s and 21s. Got a nice little look on the car. And Larry, you lowered the car 10 millimeters from the stock height?
So the KW allows a standard height or a 10 millimeter drop. So of course Angie wants it as low as possible. So I put it the max, which is about a 10 millimeter drop front and rear.
Awesome. So what's cool about it again, guys, is that now the car has a 4-corner hydraulic lift. Maybe Larry can show us how that works. And then also the exhaust is down, so maybe we can listen to that as well.
Sure.
So we'll stand back here. We'll see how you get it to go up and down and how fast it goes so everybody can see.
Just takes a minute or two for the system to boot up.
So Larry, it looks like it lifts the front first and then the rear?
I think it drops the rear, then the front, then the rear. It kind of goes back and forth. But
let's bring it down one time. Let's take a look. Very nice. So, I mean, take a look, guys. I mean, if you're going up a driveway, you can see there's not much. My hand is right here. I'm touching the bottom of the car. Larry, go ahead and bring it up one more time. Take a look at that. And even so, it doesn't look like a big difference. I about doubled my ground clearance. And when you're going over bumps or driveways, that's huge. So very, very cool. It's quite fast. And I take it, Larry, it has a speed sensor that lowers it. So you don't have to push it again, right?
So it taps into the CAN network of the car, and then at 50 miles an hour, it drops automatically.
Love it. So you can go up to right about 40-something at 50. It'll lower back to that, get your aerodynamics and everything back up.
For sure.
And then maybe we could take a look where you put the button on this.
Yeah, you guys actually made the carbon surround for it.
Take a look. We still got some tape. We're still cleaning up the car, but you can see it was put in the ashtray right there, so really easy to access. It lights up. We did a little carbon surround, so it looks really clean. And then you can see it just disappears. And then last thing we have to do is maybe, Larry, let us hear the exhaust on this thing. So you guys already, we spoke about it. Carrera GTs are one of the best sounding engines out there, but Angie wanted something a little more unique. And so we threw a little cat back that Larry installed, and you can kind of see what it sounds like. Larry, hit it. So Carrera GTs, doesn't get much better than that. I think Madeline felt that in her chest. All right, thanks, Larry. Wow, what a car. It sounds amazing.
Sounds awesome.
Snappy.
Yeah.
Guys, right below 9,000 RPM on a V10 with exhaust like that.
Yeah,
I think Angie's going to enjoy this.
For sure. I think technically it's 8,400, but range one, you see them hitting 9,000 all the time.
Incredible. I love this car. Oh, one thing we didn't show them, Larry.
Yeah.
We didn't show them that rear tail, how it goes up. Is it better now?
Oh, yeah. Let's take a look.
Is it quicker? How's that going?
It's definitely faster.
Okay. So here's another thing, if you guys remember, is that Larry installed electric actuators instead of the hydraulics. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot faster. And then what happens, the kit comes, you see this, they're running at slightly different speeds. Speaking with the company, they will run in, and over time they may vary. So what we can do is we can put a potentiometer in to vary it to get them perfect again. But they said give it some time until everything's run in.
Okay, so they'll get better with time,
so
and then you may have to adjust
then we
it.
know exactly where they are, and then we can make a minor adjustment so they come perfectly together. But they're close enough. It's about as close as the factory is.
Okay, it was quite fast.
It's very fast. The factory one's not quite as fast.
Yeah, I like that. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, put in the comments what you guys think about this Carrera GT. What a special car. Was fun to do this with Larry. and we're looking forward to doing a few more.
Sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
We may
always.
have a cool project coming up on one.
Always.
So we'll talk about that. All right, guys, see you on the next video.